Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem asserts the Trump administration's unwavering commitment to the State of Israel. France reiterates its intention to recognize a Palestinian state. Jerusalem warns France, Britain, and Canada that any unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state may result in Israel's unilateral annexation of Judea and Samaria. Israeli diplomat Yaron Lishinsky, who was mercilessly murdered alongside his partner Sarah Milgram by a pro-Hamas American terrorist at the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. last week, was laid to rest in the Israeli community of Beit Zayit, just outside of Jerusalem last night. Hundreds of Israelis, including many from Israel's Christian and Messianic Jewish community, attended the funeral. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem arrived in Israel at the instructions of President Donald Trump to show America's unwavering support for the Jewish state, a visit warmly welcomed by Jerusalem's leadership.
I want to thank Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem for her important visit to Israel. This visit, after the horrific murder of Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgram in Washington, shows solidarity and demonstrates the close relations between our people. Our hearts break for this loss of young, promising lives. I want to thank you personally, Secretary Noem, and all the branches of the administration involved for the intensive investigation underway. Secretary, I also thank you for your long-standing support for Israel.
Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar, during a special memorial event held for Sarah and Yaron in Jerusalem, continued by stressing Israel's deep appreciation for President Trump and his administration's great commitment to fighting terrorism and anti-Semitism. Secretary Noem, for her part, highlighted the American people's grief over the heinous terror attack that claimed the lives of Yaron and Sarah.
Following the horrific terrorist attacks in Washington, D.C. that took the lives of Sarah Milgram and Yaron Lishinsky, President Trump asked me to come here to Israel, to stand with all of you and to honor Sarah and Yaron. Today we stand together with profound grief, and our hearts are heavy with the loss of these two radiant souls that we will no longer have with us. Their lives were so full of promise and love and dedication, and may they be an inspiration to us of how to live our daily lives as well.
Secretary Noem, who upon arrival to Israel initially traveled to the western wall of Jerusalem's Old City, where she had made a prayer, reciting the words of Prophet Jeremiah per chapter 31, verses 15 to 17.
Now, yesterday at the Western Wall, I prayed Jeremiah 31. Jeremiah 31 says, "Thus saith the Lord, a voice is heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel is weeping for her children. She refuses to be comforted for her children because they are no more. Thus says the Lord to us, keep your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for there is reward in your work, declares the Lord, and they shall come back from the land of the enemy. There is hope for your future, declares the Lord, and your children shall come back to their own country. I ask that God may bless Israel and that God may continue to bless their families, wrap his arms of comfort around them during this time. President Trump extends his greetings and his grief to all of you, and he stands with you as we fight this hatred in the world.
Also attending the memorial ceremony, Ambassador Mike Huckabee highlighted the significance of Secretary Noem's visit to Israel at a time when the country celebrates Jerusalem Day, marking 58 years since the reunification of the city following the 1967 Six-Day War.
We're so very honored that the Secretary is here. To our knowledge, it is the first time that a Cabinet Secretary has been here on Yom Yerushalayim. a very significant day here in Jerusalem. And we're grateful for her presence and the fact that the President has asked her to come, not only to be here to represent him and the United States, but also to offer personal condolences to the families of Yaron and Sarah.
Over the weekend, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also addressed the heinous terror attack in Washington, D.C., which claimed the lives of Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgram, stressing that their murder was not just the result of a random crime.
Yaron and Sarah weren't the victims of a random crime. The terrorist who cruelly gunned them down did so for one reason and one reason alone. He wanted to kill Jews. And as he was taken away, he chanted, "Free Palestine." This is exactly the same chant we heard on October 7th. On that day, thousands of terrorists stormed into Israel from Gaza. They beheaded men, they raped women, they burned babies alive, they butchered 1,200 innocent people and took 251 innocent people hostage to the dungeons of Gaza. A short time afterwards, Chancellor Scholz of Germany visited Israel. And after he saw the horrors, he said to me, "These Hamas terrorists are exactly like the Nazis." He was right. And if they could get away with it, these Hamas terrorists would have slaughtered every last Jew on earth. For these neo-Nazis, Free Palestine is just today's version of Heil Hitler. They don't want a Palestinian state. They want to destroy the Jewish state. They want to annihilate the Jewish people who've been in the land of Israel for 3,500 years.
The Israeli leader also responded to the joint condemnations of Israel by the leaders of France, Britain, and Canada to include their voiced intentions to recognize a Palestinian state.
I say to President Macron, Prime Minister Carney, and Prime Minister Starmer, when mass murderers, rapists, baby killers, and kidnappers thank you, you're on the wrong side of justice. You're on the wrong side of humanity. And you're on the wrong side of history. Now, these leaders may think that they're advancing peace. They're not. They're emboldening Hamas to continue fighting forever. And they give them hope to establish a second Palestinian state, from which Hamas will again seek to destroy the Jewish state. And mind you, it's not going to be a state free of Hamas. When you establish a Palestinian state, we've seen it. The radicals take over. Iran sends them in and they take over. So don't give us this talk. It'll be a peaceful Palestinian state. It won't be.
In response to the Prime Minister's remarks, French government spokeswoman Sophie Prima voiced Paris's rejection of the Israeli leader's firm reaction.
La réaction est très ferme. Nous n'acceptons pas ces accusations, bien évidemment. C'est un acte antisémite qui s'est passé à Washington. Nous ne l'acceptons pas plus. Nous ne confondons pas le peuple israélien et la politique qui est menée aujourd'hui par Benjamin Netanyahou. Vous savez quelles sont les réserves que nous avons, grandes, immenses, notamment par rapport à ce qui se passe à Gaza. Je pense qu'il faut désescalader cette montée en tension entre nos deux États et travailler à trouver des solutions de paix durable pour Israël et pour la Palestine.
In addition to President Macron spearheading international pressure against Israel, France has also joined the government of the Netherlands in asking for a review of the EU-Israel Association Agreement, demanding for the enactment of Article 2 in particular, which Paris believes could lead to EU sanctions against Israel. Despite French hopes to turn Europe against Israel, Germany, Italy, Greece, Cyprus, the Czech Republic, Croatia, Hungary, Bulgaria, and Lithuania had all voted against its bid in support of the State of Israel. Nevertheless, France is now also seeking an alternative avenue to confront Israel, hoping to declare recognition of a Palestinian state during a June conference that will be held on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly.
Oui, ça avance. Nous avons été rejoints, comme vous le savez, par un certain nombre d'autres pays, le Canada, le Royaume-Uni et d'autres pays. Et ça fait l'objet des travaux pour la réunion qui aura lieu à New York à la fin du mois de juin, sous la présidence de l'Arabie saoudite et de la France. Donc ça avance. On verra si ça va jusqu'au bout à cette période-là.
Despite France hoping to push for additional countries to recognize a Palestinian state, the majority of Western countries have rejected those attempts by President Macron and underscored their refusal to attend the June conference. Moreover, Jerusalem has warned Paris, London, and Ottawa that if they unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state, Israel may respond unilaterally by asserting its sovereignty over Judea, Samaria, and the Jordan Valley. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you to take a moment to pray for the 58 hostages, with up to 20 of them among the living, who've endured 598 days in Hamas captivity. Pray also for the Israeli, US, and British troops, among others, who've been operating day and night to keep Israel safe, and for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Also, if you've been blessed by TV7 Israel News, which is exclusively funded by our viewers, please consider supporting our productions. You can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.